HOA patrols trespassed again, so Grandpa turned on the electric fence without warning. The Karen flowers bloomed defiantly along the edge of Grandpa Ellis's property, their petals a riot of crimson and gold, swaying in the late summer breeze. For decades, those flowers had been the heart of the Ellis family, planted by great-grandma Ruth, who'd whispered to her children that each bloom held a piece of her soul. To the neighborhood's homeowners association, HOA, though, they were a violation too wild, too untamed for their manicured vision of suburban perfection. The HOA president, Karen Whitmore, had made it her mission to eradicate them, her clipboard a scepter of authority, her voice sharp enough to cut through the morning calm. It started with letters, polite at first, then threatening. Remove the non-compliant flora, they demanded, citing bylaws nobody remembered voting for. Grandpa Ellis, 78 and stubborn as the oak in his yard, ignored them. He'd spent his life tending those flowers, each one a memory of Ruth, who'd passed a decade ago. The HOA didn't understand, they never would. To them it was about rules. To him it was about love. Karen escalated. She'd march onto his property with her patrol, a trio of neighbors armed with measuring tapes and smug superiority, documenting every petal that dared cross the property line. Ellis would watch from his porch, his eyes narrowing, his hands tightening around his coffee mug. "Stay off my land," he'd growl, but Karen would smile that thin, venomous smile and say, "We're protecting the community, Mr. Ellis." The tension built for months, a slow burn toward catastrophe. The neighborhood whispered about Itzum sided with Ellis, others with the HOA's rigid order. Then came the day Karen crossed a line nobody expected. She arrived with garden shears, her patrol trailing behind, and announced she'd cut the flowers herself. "It's for the greater good," she said, her voice dripping with righteousness. Ellis's grandson, Tommy, a soft-spoken 25-year-old who'd moved in to help his grandpa, tried to reason with her. "They're just flowers," he pleaded, standing between Karen and the garden. But Karen's eyes gleamed with zeal. She wasn't just fighting flowers. She was fighting chaos itself. That's when the twist came. Old Mrs. Delaney, the quiet widow next door who'd never spoken at an HOA meeting, stepped out of her house. Nobody expected her. She was the kind of neighbor who faded into the background, her life a mystery. But there she was, her frail hands clutching a faded photo of Ruth and her, laughing together in that very garden decades ago. "Those flowers were Ruth's gift to me, too," she said, her voice trembling but firm. "You cut them, Karen. You cut us all." The crowd that had gathered gasped. Mrs. Delaney wasn't just a bystander. She was a keeper of the garden's secret history. Karen faltered, but only for a moment. Her need for control outweighed sentiment. She raised her shears, and Tommy lunged to stop her, grabbing her arm. The patrol shouted, neighbors screamed, and in that chaotic second, Ellis made his choice. He'd wired an electric fence around the garden years ago to keep deer out, but he'd never used it on people. Until now. Without a word, he flipped the switch. The crackle of electricity tore through the air. Karen shrieked, dropping the shears as a jolt hit her hand where it brushed the wire. Tommy stumbled back, unharmed but horrified. The patrol scattered, and Mrs. Delaney stood frozen, the photo slipping from her fingers. The garden was safe, but at a cost nobody saw coming. Karen wasn't seriously hurt. The fence was low voltage, but the damage was done. She sued Ellis, claiming assault. The neighborhood split, some calling Ellis a hero, others a reckless old man. Tommy, caught in the middle, tried to defend his grandpa, but the community's judgment was merciless. The HOA seized the moment, fining Ellis thousands, threatening to foreclose his home. Mrs. Delaney, heartbroken, retreated into silence, her brief courage fading like the photo in the dirt. Ellis never apologized. He sat on his porch, staring at the flowers, now surrounded by a fence nobody dared touch. But the victory was hollow. Tommy moved out, unable to bear the neighbors' glares. The garden, once a place of joy, became a monument to division. One night, under the weight of legal bills and loneliness, Ellis suffered a heart attack. He survived, but the fight was gone from him. The flowers began to wilt, untended, as if Ruth's spirit had finally let go. Karen won in a way. The HOA tightened its grip, and the neighborhood fell into a sterile, obedient silence. But late at night, some swore they saw Mrs. Delaney sneaking into the garden, watering the last of the Karen flowers, whispering apologies to Ruth. The story of Ellis's garden spread, a cautionary tale of pride, love, and the cost of standing your ground. It wasn't about flowers, Anna Maria, it was about what happens when rules clash with heart, when community becomes a cage. In the end, the garden was gone, and so was the neighborhood's soul. What do you think, was Ellis right to fight for his flowers? Or did his defiance destroy more than it saved? Share your thoughts on where justice lies in this tangled mess.